Peppers can fool you. One moment they look glossy, upright, and strong, and the next they're sulking like they've given up on life. I learned this the hard way. One season my peppers were growing beautifully, and then slowly, almost quietly, they started showing signs that something wasn't right. At first I brushed it off. Peppers are tough, right? They bounce back. But ignoring the small warnings nearly cost me the whole crop. Today, I want to share the 3 clear signs that told me my peppers were not healthy, and exactly what I did to turn everything around before it was too late. The leaves started curling inwards and thinning out. The first sign snuck up on me. The leaves on several plants began curling inwards, almost folding like little boats. They weren't thick and lush the way pepper leaves should be. They were thin, papery, and slightly droopy, even early in the day. This told me the plant wasn't moving water properly. At first, I blamed heat, but the real culprit was inconsistent watering and exposed dry soil. Peppers need steady moisture, not soaked roots, not desert dry swings. The soil around mine was crusting too fast and draining too quickly. So, to fix it, I added a thin layer of shredded leaf mulch directly around the base of each plant, making sure not to touch the stem. This really helped stabilize moisture and cooled the root zone. I also switched to deeper but less frequent watering, making sure the water actually reached the lower root layers. Within just a few days, the leaves began to plump back out, and new growth looked strong again. Then, the stems turned soft at the base. Honestly, this second sign scared me the most. A couple of plants had stems that felt slightly soft when I pressed near the bottom. They weren't mushy, but they weren't firm like a healthy pepper stem either. This was early stem rot, usually caused by overwatering or poor airflow around the soil line. Turns out, the issue was simple. I had mulched too tightly around those plants earlier that season, and the moisture never had a chance to evaporate. The base stayed damp, day and night, and the stems began to weaken. I fixed this by carefully pulling the mulch a few inches back to expose the stem area. That alone allowed things to dry and tighten up. Then I sprinkled a light layer of wood ash and crushed charcoal around the soil to improve drainage and discourage fungal growth. In less than a week, the stems firmed back up, and the plants recovered. Slow flowering and tiny peppers forming late. The third sign was the most frustrating. My plants were full in size, but they were barely producing flowers, and the few peppers that formed were small and slow to develop. This is classic nutrient imbalance, especially when nitrogen is too high and potassium too low. So, I had fed them with fresh compost earlier in the season. Great for growth, but honestly, terrible for fruiting if used alone. The fix, well, it was to rebalance the soil with more potassium and calcium. I added crushed eggshell powder for calcium, just a small sprinkle of wood ash for potassium, and a little comfrey tea as a booster. I made sure to avoid all high nitrogen fertilizers so the plants would, shift their energy from leaves to fruits. 2 weeks later the flowers came in flushes, and the fruits quickly sized up. The difference was, honestly, dramatic. Peppers speak. They tell you exactly what they need if you watch the leaves, stems, and fruit set closely. Curling leaves, soft bases, and weak fruit production are not death sentences, they're early warnings, and if you respond quickly, peppers bounce back faster than almost any garden crop. If you want more practical, real-world lessons like this from my own garden, don't forget to subscribe and share. Your support keeps these deep-dive gardening guides coming.